Hello. Welcome back for another episode of the Intern's Oddities. Or Uncanny Oddities, since I'm graduated from being the intern. Anyways, when people say everything began with a bang, when they're talking about the Big Bang Theory, of course, they skip the best part. I've recently been thinking about science and the Big Bang Theory and the heat death of the universe, and I've been thinking about phoenixes. The universe might be a phoenix. Now, what I mean is, it was born from fire, ending in cold, and possibly it might repeat. Tonight, we walk from the first light to the last, and then across a bridge some physicists believe might connect the two. You'll hear where the evidence is solid, where it's thin, and where the story might just turn a little mythic. So, let's start at the beginning. Hello, James. Thanks for coming to hang out. I've got an interesting one going on tonight. Go ahead and spoiler alert. This is basically my theory about how I think the heat death of the universe might actually have been the cause of the Big Bang. Science. And I got the hair down too, right? Science. Oh, he seems like a fun person to hang out with. George Tsoukalos. He seems like he'd be cool to hang out with. Anyways. So this let's start with how the bang happened. All right? The standard picture in standard science, scientific beliefs goes like this. Not an explosion in space, but the rapid expansion of space itself. So, in the first fraction of a second, a brief burst of accelerated expansion, or inflation, stretched quantum ripples into the seeds of galaxies. Hundreds of thousands of years later, the universe cooled enough for electrons to latch onto nuclei. Atoms formed, lights decoupled, and that afterglow still bathes us to this day. The cosmic microwave background, or CMB. James says God spoke the universe into existence. The Big Bang was when he spoke. And that is what some people believe. So, the key ideas that we're trying to get across here is that expansion is not things flying through space, but rather space making more space between the galaxies. Uniformity with wrinkles. The CMB is astonishingly smooth with tiny fluctuations, exactly what gravity needs in order to grow structure. Now, we don't know what came before the bang. We get a long fade out. So we're not really sure. Because if there was an acceleration to keep winning, going faster and faster to try to expand the universe, we don't get the dramatic crunch that we would expect. So, on the other end of things, there is something known as the heat death of the universe. And this is the theory that well, let's back up a little bit. We call it the heat death, but it's a bit more complicated than that. It is because it isn't fire, but rather exhaustion. Entropy climbs until useful differences smear out. Stars burn out, white dwarfs cool, neutron stars go dark. On unimaginable timescales, even black holes leak away via Hawking radiation. Stelliferous era ends when the star formation stops. Degenerate era is corpses and embers, and the black hole era lasts quite long, absurdly long even. Supermassive black holes evaporate on times like 10 to the 100th power years and beyond. So, I'm not good at math. I'm going to say 10 million years, maybe? If anyone knows that, please, correct me because I'm sure I probably got it wrong. But and then there's a dark era which contains thin ghosts of photons, neutrinos, and rare particles drifting through nearly nothing. In that silent future, nothing macroscopic can do work. No engines, no life, just equilibrium stretching into the night. Does the end make a new beginning, though? Is the question that I'm asking. So I did a little bit of research, and here's what my research told me. It says there are several serious but unproven frameworks that flirt with this idea. Conformal cyclic cosmology, or CCC. Roger Penrose proposes that when the universe thins out to only massless radiation, no clocks, no masses, its end can be mathematically rescaled and glued to a new Big Bang. In that sense, heat death is one aeon in the runway for the next. Evidence claims for CCC, special concentric circles in the CMB from black hole events in a previous aeon, have been hotly contested and, so far, not confirmed. But the logical bridge, endless, massless future conformally matching a new beginning, remains an intriguing construction. Now, in terms of big bounce and loop quantum cosmology, quantum gravity effects might prevent a true singularity, replacing it with a bounce, a prior contraction, minimum, and then re expansion. Kind of like a rubber band almost. If you hold a rubber band in your hand and you pull it out and then you let it go, but you only release one end of it, it's going to snap back together and, hit your thumb. But so it's not literally a heat death to the bang, but another way to get cycles without a beginning or end. So then the next thing is, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, ekpyrotic or cyclic with brain collisions. BRANE. And this part says in some string or brain models, our 3D universe periodically collides with a parallel brain. BRANE again. Now, each collision heats the universe, which is our Big Bang, as it were. That's a cycle too, though the mechanism is different from heat death. And baby universes and vacuum decay. In a near empty, cold de Sitter future, rare quantum events or vacuum tunneling could nucleate new expanding regions or bubbles that are new universes. Also speculative, but consistent with quantum field theory in curved space. So overall, it said that my claim is strongest when framed like CCC or de Sitter new makes a new universe ideas. Once everything decays to radiation and the geometry becomes scale free, the far future state becomes mathematically indistinguishable from a new low entropy beginning after a conformal remapping. So, like after everything cools off, it would technically be a new universe. That's not the corpse explodes and becomes a baby. It's more like the meaning of time and scale dissolves at the end, letting the next beginning wear the same geometry. A different class of models, known as Carol Chin, imagines a near empty de Sitter space occasionally fluctuating into inflating patches, pocket universes with their own low entropy starts. Again, not proven, but a worked out mechanism where heat death like conditions can actually give rise to new beginnings. Now, could the extermination of a civilization power a Big Bang? Short answer, no, by astronomical margins. Let's put numbers on it. The mass energy of just the observable universe is about 10 to the 53 kilograms. E equals mc squared puts that around 9 times 10 to the 69 joules. A star like the Sun has approximately 2 times 10 to the 30th power kilograms, or about 2 times 10 to the 47th power joules. Even if an entire advanced civilization and all its infrastructure, say a wild 10 to the 15 kilograms, were annihilated matter to antimatter, you'd release approximately 1.8 times 10 to the 32 joules. That's still about 10 to the 38th power times too small. A civilization, no matter how tragic its end, can't supply the energy budget of a cosmos. The phoenix idea requires cosmic mechanisms, geometry, quantum gravity, vacuum energy, not civilization fuel. Keep the poetry, drop the power plant. So, the arrow of time. Why beginnings look so ordered? Why was the early universe so low in entropy compared to today? That's the past hypothesis. Penrose's whale curvature hypothesis says the gravitational degrees of freedom were extraordinarily ordered at the Big Bang. CCC uses that orderliness as a handoff condition between aeons. Competing ideas try to get low entropy patches from high entropy backgrounds via inflationary fluctuations. None of this is settled, and it's all live research. So essentially, what his theory is trying to propose here is that as we continue through our, universe and our lives and all that, it's kind of decays and gets more chaotic as we go. I think that's what he's trying to say. But to be completely honest, there were a lot of big words there. But I think that's kind of the basic point that they're trying to get at in that particular theory. So, anyway, whether the universe ends in silence forever or cycles without end, our window is brief and blazing. We are a local reversal against the dark trend, burning free energy to speak, sing, and make each other dinner. That's not a reason to despair, it's a reason to live precisely and importantly. Make a difference in the world, you know? So, if the cosmos is a phoenix, good. If it's a one-way story, that's fine too. Either way, you're conscious now, and that is the true miracle. If the end becomes a beginning, may our distant descendants, whatever they are, remember that once, in this aeon, tiny primates stared into the sky and asked the right questions. So, a bit of a shorter episode tonight, but it's just an interesting idea that I had that I thought I would discuss with everyone since we're doing space exploration right now. I thought that would be a little interesting idea. And it actually kind of, you know, I can go one episode without mentioning that theory. But thank you, James, for coming to hang out. And thank you, anyone else who decided to show up but didn't feel like talking. Thank you to everybody, and we will see you next time. Have a good night, and as always, stay uncanny.